Most people think dangerous people are loud. They are wrong. The most dangerous person is not the one who shouts first. It is the one who cannot be easily disturbed. The one who can stand in the middle of insult and not lose himself. The one who can hear disrespect and not hand over his peace. The one who can be misunderstood and not beg to be seen. The one who can feel anger rise like fire in the chest and still choose the next breath with discipline. That person becomes dangerous in silence. Not dangerous because he wants revenge. Not dangerous because he wants to hurt anyone. Not dangerous because he becomes cold, bitter, or cruel. Dangerous because he can no longer be controlled by the same old tricks. You cannot pull him with drama. You cannot command him with guilt. You cannot weaken him with rejection. You cannot make him dance with provocation. You cannot make him explain his soul to people who already decided to misunderstand it. He has returned to himself, and a person who has returned to himself is not easy to move. Listen carefully. Your weakness is not that you feel deeply. Your weakness is that you allow every feeling to become an order. Someone says one sharp sentence, and your whole body changes. Someone ignores you, and your mind runs all night. Someone questions your worth, and you abandon your own truth. Someone disrespects your boundary, and you start explaining why your boundary deserves to exist. This is not peace. This is slavery. Not slavery of the body, slavery of attention. Whoever controls your attention controls your energy. Whoever controls your energy shapes your decisions. Whoever shapes your decisions slowly enters your destiny. This is why you must protect your attention. Your attention is the sacred gate of your inner kingdom. Every day, the world knocks on this gate. Fear knocks, drama knocks, comparison knocks, old wounds knock, people's opinions knock, unfinished conversations knock, memories knock, anger knocks, loneliness knocks, the need to prove yourself knocks. If you open the gate to everything, do not complain when your inner temple becomes crowded with noise. You must become the guardian. Not harsh, not paranoid, not closed to life. Awake. A temple without a gate becomes a street. A mind without discipline becomes a battlefield. A heart without boundaries becomes a room where every stranger leaves their pain. You do not need more noise. You need order. Before you try to fix your life, listen carefully. Your life does not change when everyone finally respects you. Your life changes when you stop giving access to what disrespects you. Your life does not change when everyone understands you. Your life changes when you stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Your life does not change when emotion disappears. Your life changes when emotion no longer controls the steering wheel. This is the truth. When you become hard to disturb, you become free. Say it slowly. When you become hard to disturb, you become free. Not untouched, not numb, not emotionless. Free. Free to choose your response. Free to protect your peace. Free to speak only when words are useful. Free to walk away without hatred. Free to stand alone without collapsing. Free to keep moving even when others do not understand your path. A weak mind reacts. A trained mind chooses. A weak mind needs the world to be calm in order to be calm. A trained mind carries calm into the world. A weak mind begs for approval. A trained mind builds self-respect. A weak mind explains endlessly. A trained mind lets action, time, and silence speak. This is not theory. This is training. Life will test you in the exact places where you still leak power. If you are addicted to being liked, life will send criticism. If you are addicted to being understood, life will send misunderstanding. If you are addicted to control, life will send uncertainty. If you are addicted to comfort, life will send pressure. If you are addicted to reaction, life will send provocation. Not to destroy you, to reveal you. Every disturbance is a mirror. It shows you where the gate is still open. It shows you where the wound is still ruling. It shows you where your dignity still waits for permission. It shows you where your mind still bows to outside noise. Do not curse the mirror. Train. When someone provokes you and you feel the fire rise, do not immediately speak. Stop. Feel the heat. Feel the pressure. Feel the ego wanting to defend, attack, explain, prove, win. Then breathe. A single breath can be a sword. It cuts the chain between impulse and action. Most people do not live there. They live as slaves to the first impulse. They feel anger, so they speak anger. They feel fear, so they obey fear. They feel shame, so they hide. They feel loneliness, so they chase. They feel disrespected, so they become disrespectful. This is not strength. This is reaction wearing the mask of power. Real power begins in the pause. The pause is the warrior's chamber. The pause is the temple door. The pause is where the untrained self dies for one moment, and the disciplined self has a chance to stand. Do not disrespect the pause. A seed is small, but it contains the forest. A breath is small, but it can protect your destiny. A moment of silence is small, but it can save you from becoming someone you do not respect. When you become hard to disturb, you do not become passive. You become precise. You stop wasting your sword on shadows. You stop giving speeches to walls. You stop offering your energy to battles that have no sacred purpose. Not every argument is worth entering. Not every accusation is worth answering. Not every person deserves explanation. Not every silence means you are losing. Not every ending means you failed. A mountain does not run after the wind to correct its opinion. A river does not stop moving because one stone stands in its path. A tree does not pull up its roots to chase the seasons. Learn from them. Be still where you must be still. Flow where you must flow. Stand where you must stand. Leave where you must leave. This is discipline. Silence is not weakness. Silence is discipline. Silence is not the absence of strength. Silence is strength under command. Anyone can shout when wounded. Anyone can send the angry message. Anyone can expose, attack, complain, and react. Anyone can let emotion spill into the world and call it honesty. But can you hold fire without burning your own house? Can you feel the storm without becoming storm? Can you be insulted and still keep your posture? Can you be misunderstood and still not betray your own truth? This is rare. This is why silence is dangerous, because silence removes the handle others use to control you. A person who needs to prove everything can be controlled by accusation. A person who needs approval can be controlled by rejection. A person who fears loneliness can be controlled by distance. A person who fears judgment can be controlled by gossip. A person who fears discomfort can be controlled by pressure. But when you no longer worship what can be taken from you, you become difficult to manipulate. You may still feel the pain, but pain no longer becomes your master. Pain may explain you, but it must not control your future. This is one of the deepest lessons. Your past may explain why you react strongly. It may explain why disrespect hurts your chest. It may explain why silence from someone feels like abandonment. It may explain why criticism touches an old wound. It may explain why you try to be perfect so nobody can reject you. But explanation is not permission to stay the same forever. A wound can explain the limp, but it must not decide that you will never learn to walk with strength. A betrayal can explain caution, but it must not decide that your heart must become a prison. A childhood without safety can explain your fear, but it must not decide that your future will be built from fear. At some point, you must stop kneeling before the wound. You must stand before it and say, "I see you. I honor what happened, but you will not drive my life anymore." This is not denial. This is leadership. The master within you must lead the wounded part of you, with compassion, with firmness, with patience, with discipline. A trained mind does not obey every emotion. It listens. It learns. It chooses. Anger says, attack. The trained mind says, wait. Fear says, run. The trained mind says, look clearly. Shame says, hide. The trained mind says, stand with dignity. Loneliness says, go back to what hurts. The trained mind says, do not return to the fire just because the night feels cold. This is self-mastery. You cannot become hard to disturb if you obey every inner noise. You must train the inside before you can stand strong on the outside. Many people try to look strong. They speak with force. They post powerful words. They act unbothered. They pretend not to care. But inside, they are moved by everything. One comment ruins them. One rejection breaks them. One memory pulls them back. One person controls their mood. One argument steals their week. This is not strength. This is performance. Real strength is quiet, repetitive, and invisible before it becomes visible. It is the message you do not send, the argument you do not enter, the boundary you keep, the morning discipline you repeat, the promise you honor, the breath you return to, the room you leave when respect leaves first, the old pattern you refuse to feed again. Nobody may see it, but your nervous system sees it, your spirit sees it, your future sees it. And slowly, you begin to trust yourself again. Self-trust is built by evidence, not by words, not by wishes, not by fantasies. Evidence. Every time you choose discipline, you give yourself evidence that you can lead yourself. Every time you protect your peace, you give yourself evidence that your life matters to you. Every time you say less instead of explaining too much, you give yourself evidence that your words are sacred. Every time you keep your boundary, you give yourself evidence that your dignity is not negotiable. This is how the inner kingdom is rebuilt, stone by stone, breath by breath, choice by choice. Do not expect one decision to change your whole life. A river carves the stone by returning. Return. When you wake up, return to your breath before you return to the world. Do not let your phone be the first priest of your morning. Do not let strangers enter your temple before you have entered it yourself. Sit for a moment. Breathe. Feel your body. Remember your direction. Say, "Today I will protect my attention. Today I will not react to every disturbance. Today I will not explain myself to closed minds. Today I will keep my standards higher than my need for approval. Today I will move like a mountain and flow like a river." Then begin. This small act is not small. It is the first brick of inner order. Most lives are not destroyed by one disaster. They are weakened by daily leaks. A little attention lost here, a little energy wasted there, a little self-betrayal called kindness, a little boundary crossed in the name of peace, a little reaction justified by emotion, a little approval chased from someone who cannot recognize value. Over time, the inner kingdom becomes poor, not because life stole everything, because you gave too much access to what did not deserve it. Stop. Protect the gate. Boundaries are not cruelty. They are self-respect. You do not need to hate people to limit their access. You do not need to explain a boundary until it becomes acceptable to others. You do not need to make everyone comfortable with your growth. You do not need to ask permission to stop allowing disrespect. A boundary is a clear line. This is what I allow. This is what I do not allow. This is where I stay. This is where I leave. This is how I speak. This is how I will be spoken to. This is what I will no longer carry. Simple, but not easy. When you first set boundaries, you may feel guilt. This is normal. If you were trained to survive by pleasing others, self-respect will feel like betrayal at first. The old self will say, "You are being harsh. You are being selfish. You are losing them. You are causing conflict." You should explain one more time. You should soften the line. You should accept it again. Do not obey the old self blindly. The old self was built for survival. The new self is built for freedom. Thank the old self, then lead it. When people test your boundary, repeat it calmly. If they keep testing it, act. A boundary without action is only a request. The world does not respect a gate that never closes. Close the gate when you must. Not with hatred, with clarity. A temple does not apologize for having walls. Neither should you. When you become hard to disturb, people will notice. Some will respect you more. Some will test you harder. Some will accuse you of changing. Some will say you are distant. Some will say you think you are better. Some will try to pull emotion out of you just to prove they still can. Stay still. Do not perform your growth for people who preferred your weakness. You are not becoming hard to disturb so others can admire you. You are becoming hard to disturb so your life can finally belong to you. There is a difference. Do not chase approval from people who cannot recognize value. Some people will only appreciate you when you stop being available. Some people will only call you strong after they fail to control you. Some people will only notice your worth when you stop placing it in their hands. Do not wait for that moment. Move before they understand. A diamond does not become valuable because someone finally says so. Gold does not become gold because the crowd applauds. The mountain does not become tall because someone looks up. Your value exists before recognition. If you need the wrong people to recognize your value, you will keep standing in the wrong places. Leave the wrong places, quietly. Do not announce your departure to those who never respected your presence. Silence is enough. There is a time to speak. There is a time to explain. There is a time to correct. There is a time to fight, but there is also a time to stop giving your life force to the same closed door. Wisdom is knowing the difference. The weak mind thinks every door must be opened. The trained mind knows some doors close to protect the path. The weak mind thinks every person must stay. The trained mind knows some departures are medicine. The weak mind thinks every loss is punishment. The trained mind knows some losses are purification. The weak mind thinks silence is empty. The trained mind knows silence is where power gathers. You must learn to let power gather. Stop pouring yourself into every emotional fire. Fire needs fuel. Drama needs your attention. Arguments need your participation. Manipulation needs your reaction. Disrespect needs your tolerance. Confusion needs your repeated return. Remove the fuel. This is how some battles end. Not by winning, not by proving, not by shouting, by withdrawing energy. When you stop feeding what weakens you, it begins to lose power. This is why becoming hard to disturb is dangerous in silence. Because many systems around you rely on your reaction. Toxic people rely on your guilt. Manipulators rely on your need to explain. Insecure people rely on your need to prove. Chaotic environments rely on your lack of boundaries. Old habits rely on your unconscious repetition. When you become conscious, the old system starts to collapse. Not outside first. Inside. The part of you that used to chase begins to sit down. The part of you that used to panic begins to breathe. The part of you that used to explain begins to close its mouth. The part of you that used to accept less begins to stand up. This is the real revolution. No noise, no revenge, no dramatic announcement. Just a human being returning to his own center. And once you return to your center, you begin to move differently. Your decisions become cleaner. You no longer choose from fear. You no longer choose from hunger. You no longer choose from old wounds. You no longer choose from the need to be liked. You ask, does this honor my peace? Does this align with my future? Does this strengthen my roots? Does this bring me closer to the person I am becoming? If not, you do not enter. Your words become fewer. You stop leaking energy through long explanations. You stop telling sacred plans to careless ears. You stop defending your worth to people who only know how to measure you by usefulness. You stop filling silence because silence makes others uncomfortable. You speak when speech is clean, and when silence is wiser, you let silence stand. Your standards become higher. You stop accepting the same disrespect with different excuses. You stop calling inconsistency love. You stop calling confusion mystery. You stop calling exhaustion loyalty. You stop calling fear intuition. You become honest. Honesty cuts, but it also frees. A clean life requires clean seeing. You must see what drains you. You must see who benefits from your lack of boundaries. You must see where you keep betraying yourself. You must see which habits pretend to comfort you while secretly weakening you. This seeing may hurt. Let it hurt. Truth is a sharp medicine. It cuts the infection so healing can begin. Do not run from clarity because it disrupts your illusions. Some illusions feel warm. Some attachments feel like home. Some prisons are decorated with memories. But a prison with beautiful walls is still a prison. If something repeatedly takes your peace, look at it honestly. If someone repeatedly makes you smaller, look at it honestly. If a habit repeatedly leaves you empty, look at it honestly. If a dream requires you to betray your soul, look at it honestly. The trained mind does not look away from truth. It bows to truth. Then it acts. Small action. Always small action. Do not promise yourself a perfect life. Promise the next clean step. Clean the room. Take the walk. Drink the water. Close the app. Do the work. Send the short boundary. Leave the conversation. Sleep instead of spiraling. Breathe instead of reacting. Choose silence instead of proving. These actions look ordinary, but ordinary discipline builds extraordinary peace. People underestimate repetition because they worship intensity. They want one breakthrough, one speech, one decision, one dramatic moment where everything changes. But life is shaped by what you repeat. Repeat reaction, and you become easy to disturb. Repeat silence, and you become rooted. Repeat self-betrayal, and you become empty. Repeat boundaries, and you become solid. Repeat distraction, and you become scattered. Repeat attention, and you become powerful. You are always training something. Every day, every choice, every reaction, every silence. The question is not whether you are training. The question is what you are training. Are you training chaos or peace? Are you training craving or dignity? Are you training fear or courage? Are you training reaction or mastery? Look at your day. Your day is your teacher. Where did your attention go? Who had access to your mind? What did you let disturb your body? What did you keep replaying? What did you avoid? Where did you betray your own standard? Where did you stand strong? Do not judge with hatred. Study with honesty. The warrior studies the battlefield. Your life is the battlefield. Your habits are the footprints. Your reactions are the clues. Your peace is the treasure. Protect it. When you become hard to disturb, you begin to understand that peace is not fragile. Peace is powerful when it is trained. Untrained peace depends on life being gentle. Trained peace stands even when life is rough. Untrained peace disappears when someone is rude. Trained peace breathes and chooses. Untrained peace needs everyone to behave. Trained peace knows that your behavior belongs to you. This is maturity. You stop making other people responsible for your inner weather. This does not mean disrespect is acceptable. This does not mean pain is imaginary. This does not mean you tolerate harmful behavior. It means you do not let harmful behavior own your inner state longer than necessary. You respond from dignity. You leave when needed. You set boundaries. You protect yourself, but you do not build a temple to the injury. You do not make the wound your identity. You do not let one person's disorder become the ruler of your mind. This is how you become dangerous in silence, because you are no longer predictable to your triggers. Before, they knew the button. They pressed and you reacted. Now, they press and you observe. They speak and you breathe. They withdraw and you remain. They accuse and you do not collapse. They insult and you do not become insult. They misunderstand and you do not chase. This is freedom. Not because you feel nothing, because you feel everything and still remain the one who chooses. The greatest strength is not the absence of emotion. It is the discipline to not be ruled by emotion. Remember this. You can be gentle and still be firm. You can be kind and still be unavailable for disrespect. You can forgive and still not return. You can love and still leave. You can be silent and still be powerful. You can be peaceful and still be dangerous to everything that tries to control you. A soft heart, a strong spine, a clear mind, a guarded gate. This is the balance. Do not become cold. Coldness is not mastery. Coldness is often fear wearing armor. You are not here to freeze your heart. You are here to train it. Let the heart stay alive. Let compassion remain. Let warmth remain. Let love remain. But place wisdom at the gate. But without wisdom, love becomes self-abandonment. Without boundaries, kindness becomes exhaustion. Without discipline, emotion becomes chaos. Without self-respect, connection becomes captivity. You need both. Heart and spine, river and mountain, fire and temple, silence and action. This is the way. As you walk this path, you will lose some things. You may lose the need to explain. You may lose the habit of chasing. You may lose comfort in familiar chaos. You may lose people who only knew how to relate to your wounded self. You may lose versions of yourself that survived but no longer need to lead. Let them go. Not everything you lose is a loss. Some losses are the sound of chains falling. Some endings are the opening of a sacred gate. Some silence is not emptiness. It is your soul returning home, and home is what you have been seeking. not in their approval, not in their apology, not in their recognition, not in their regret, not in winning the argument, not in finally being understood by every person who doubted you. Home is your own presence. The moment you can sit with yourself without running, the moment you can feel emotion without obeying it, the moment you can be misunderstood without collapsing, the moment you can stand alone without begging, the moment you can protect your peace without guilt, that is home. Return there. Again and again. When the world becomes loud, return. When the old wound speaks, return. When the ego wants revenge, return. When loneliness wants you to lower your standards, return. When fear says you cannot survive without their approval, return. When anger wants to use your mouth, return. Return to the breath. Inhale. Exhale. Feel the ground. You are here. You are not the storm. You are the one watching the storm. You are not the insult. You are the one hearing it. You are not the wound. You are the one healing it. You are not the impulse. You are the one choosing. This is the seat of power. Sit there. Not once. Every day. The world will keep testing the gate. That is the world's nature. Your work is to guard it. The world will keep making noise. That is the world's nature. Your work is to protect attention. People will misunderstand. That is human nature. Your work is to remain aligned. Emotion will rise. That is body nature. Your work is to choose with awareness. Pain will visit. That is life. Your work is to not hand it the map of your future. You do not need to become loud. You do not need revenge. You do not need to prove yourself to everyone. You do not need to make them see what they refuse to see. You do not need to carry every accusation into your sleep. You do not need to burn your life force in the fire of other people's chaos. You only need to return. Return to your breath. Return to your attention. Return to your discipline. Return to your boundaries. Return to your standards. Return to the person you are becoming. That person is waiting for your loyalty. Do not betray him for temporary reaction. Do not betray him for approval from blind eyes. Do not betray him for one more argument. Do not betray him for people who only respect you when you are easy to control. Stand at the sacred gate of your inner kingdom. Let the storm knock. You do not have to open. Let the noise rise. You do not have to answer. Let the misunderstanding exist. You do not have to chase. Let the old self beg for the old pattern. You do not have to obey. Breathe. Choose. Stand. This is how you become hard to disturb. Not by avoiding life, but by entering life rooted. Not by killing emotion, but by training emotion. Not by becoming cold, but by becoming clear. Not by proving your power, but by no longer giving it away. And when you become hard to disturb, you become dangerous in silence. Dangerous to manipulation. Dangerous to disrespect. Dangerous to chaos. Dangerous to old patterns. Dangerous to the wounded version of you that thought peace had to be begged for. You become a mountain that no insult can move. A river that no stone can stop. A fire that no storm can extinguish. A temple whose gate is guarded by wisdom. This is your return. Not to who you were before the pain. To someone deeper. Someone calmer. Someone stronger. Someone cleaner. Someone who speaks less but means more. Someone who feels deeply but chooses wisely. Someone who walks away without hatred. Someone who stands alone without fear. Someone who no longer needs to be understood by everyone in order to remain whole. This is the path. Walk it quietly. Let your discipline speak. Let your boundaries speak. Let your peace speak. Let your changed life speak. No revenge, no noise, no performance. Only breath, only attention, only discipline, only self-respect, only the steady becoming of a person who finally belongs to himself. And when the world tries to disturb you again, smile gently inside. Not because you are above life, but because you are no longer beneath every reaction. You have trained. You have returned. You are guarding the gate now, and what is guarded by wisdom cannot be easily taken.